So, hello, Ron. I'm tonight here with Ron Laplace, an old friend and teacher and colleague I met quite a few years ago. About 10 years ago, we met Ron, and during the times when we used to train and teach with the School of Remembering at Jumbalo Melchizedek. And Ron, I also discovered shortly after I met him that he's not only a ATIH or a Flower of Life instructor, but also he's a sound healer. And I would like to invite Ron just to give us a little bit of his background in this beautiful science, I would call it, of sound healing, and as well as anything else he would like to tell us about himself. Thank you for being here with me tonight, Ron.
Thanks, Michelle. It's always good to talk to you, and I'm honored that you want to know more about what I'm up to these days.
So there is a lot of things happening in the world these days. So before we go into details about this new work that you are doing, I would like for you to give us your opinion about what is happening with the energy, the vibration of Mother Earth, and how people take on this energy, and how is this energy affecting the way that we behave in society, in family, and so on. I want to ask you these questions because many people are asking this question. They're asking myself and our colleagues, and I would like to see your take on this.
Wow, that's a big question, really. The way I'm going to begin is to say that to everything there is a season. And right now I'm in a season. There are times in my life when I'm very aware and very conscious and even working with the collective consciousness of the earth and of humanity. And then there are other times when I'm not so connected to all of that, and I'm much more involved in where I am within consciousness. And right now, for me, it's the latter. This would have been happening now in this year, in 2021, pretty much as soon as we went into the new year. I went into this much more inward journey. And what I'm finding for me, and because it's such a personal thing, and I feel like I've actually kind of disconnected from the outer realms somewhat. What's happening for me is I'm in an extremely creative time right now. I'm having all kinds of ideas and information come in, and I'm doing my best to take what I'm receiving and apply it to what I'm doing now in the world. And so that's taking up my energy right now, and I'm thrilled. I'm really energized. I'm really excited about the future and where I can help the greater consciousness with the shift and the change that we're all in, because I believe I have something to offer. So that's kind of how I'd answer that question right now. It's a little different than that answer would have been a month ago. It's actually a lot different, but I'm enjoying what's happening right now. We can't ignore what's going on in the world as well. And from my perspective, what we're seeing is the polarity becoming identified in a more magnified way all the time. We live in a polarity. We live in a world that the very creation that we live in is polarized. And we did that for a reason, meaning we, us, collective, in this reality, we came in to experience something here, and we came in and set it up so that we would experience it through polarity.
Yes.
And
Very interesting what you're saying.
yeah,
It's true because sometimes we feel that it should be A or it should be B. However, we cannot experience A without B and the opposite. So we need to have that balance. And sometimes when we have a bad experience and when we look back a month or a year after, we realize that it wouldn't be a possibility for us to grow and to transform without that negative experience that probably we had.
yes. Well, I think that's where so much confusion and misunderstanding originates in our lives, is that for most, they haven't understood what you just said, that if we bring something into this creation, we feel like we're looking at it, we're bringing our attention and intention into it, and we bring it into creation and we say, there it is, isn't it beautiful? But what we haven't understood is that we focused all our attention on that, but because we live in polarity, we're also creating its opposite. And we weren't focused on that, but there it is. And it's behind us or somewhere else in creation. And when that starts to manifest and grow as well, we go, oh my God, we don't realize that that's our creation too.
Exactly. It's so interesting what you're saying. Recently, I had a workshop, and one of the students had said something extremely interesting. And he said, I love this world because there is conflict everywhere. Wherever there is conflict, there is potential for change and growth. He said,
Wow.
and he said to me, look, if we all are in heaven and we just sit in heaven all the time, it must be pretty boring. I need to come to have some kind of an experience. He says, I actually like this world. Well, he's looking for a change in his life too, but he said, I like this world because there is conflict. And he started to give me examples of conflicts. And sometimes we may not realize that something is a conflict, but there is a conflict that is generating progress.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. That's one brilliant guy. Was he pretty young?
Yeah, actually, he's in his early 40s.
Oh, okay. So mid-age, but no, he's getting it. He's understanding. And that perspective, it kind of shifts as we get older or when we're very young. Our age has something to do with where our mindset ends up. But I really like what he's saying, and I agree that we did this. This is someone who is understanding. He's not saying they did this to me. He's saying we did this. And that's really important because, yes, we did. We set this up in a certain way. And from my perspective, Michelle, we set it up with an intention. And that intention was to forget who we were because we came from unity. We came into this world, and our intention was to forget unity, to move into polarity, and to feel separated from God. What an intention that is. To actually forget our connection, to forget our unified connection to everything, which means we forget our connection to God. We didn't lose it, but we forgot it. It's still inside.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
so what we're in the process of doing now is going to the absolute extreme of separation in polarity. That's what the world's in right now. And through that journey, it drives us deeper into the desire to remember who we are. And that is the desire now that is fueling this movement back into unity and the desire for that. And this is the cycle. And it's the intention being fulfilled that we came in with a long time ago. So it's an exciting time. It's a kind of a strange time. You
It's a strange
know,
time, but it
I
is
mean,
exciting.
sometimes you just have to say, no, I don't want to even look out into the world for the time being. But it's a very, very interesting time.
Sometimes I feel I want to go to sleep, and when I wake up, it's like it's gone, it's disappeared. It's like it was a nightmare.
Yes.
It's true, and
Yeah.
as you said, what I noticed about this transforming energies, as I do the workshop Awakening the Illuminated Heart, where you know very well the way that the exercises take place and feeling the energy, feeling the connection, all those exercises, and I noticed that the people are more and more and more feeling the connection,
Hmm.
actually feeling the physical connection. When we do those the Sufi dance or even dancing in the dark, it's totally different than it was 10 years ago. And for those of you that are watching this and experience the workshop, you know what I'm talking about. The others, you may experience it at some point. And it's interesting to see how people, even when we did it at distance, virtual, and they feel the energy of the person that they are connecting via the screen. And to me, it was amazing because people had the chance to experience connections at a far greater distance, understanding that what you were just saying earlier, there is no separation. We are all connected. We just forgot how to feel that connection, to sense it. And now people are starting to feel it. And for me, it was like, wow, it was, as a teacher of this work, it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Yes. Yeah.
So that being said, do you want to start introducing your new work that you are doing now?
I'd love to.
How did it? How was it born? How did you come into creating this new
Okay.
work that you do?
Um, I have to go back a little bit in
Sure.
order to put that in context. I have been working with sound for some time. I've always been connected to sound throughout my life. But for the last 16, 17 years, I've been working with it directly. Um, and the way that uh, kind of manifested in my life was I became a teacher of a certain discipline, a certain line of information called acutonics. And what acutonics represents is a way of working with sound. It involves the discipline of traditional Chinese medicine, and it also involves the understanding of astronomy and astrology because we're taking tuning forks and applying them to the acupuncture points on the body. The astronomy and astrology comes in because the tuning forks are the frequencies of the heavenly bodies, the planets, the asteroids, the heavenly bodies that are the major bodies that are in our knowledge and understanding. And so there's quite a bit involved there. I mean, uh, you could study any one of those things for your whole life and never understand it completely. But what it is a really effective way of working with people, uh, mostly on a one-to-one basis in sessions, and helping to the movement of energy and the balancing of energy in their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. So I was initially learning that system, and then I became a teacher of it. And so, as you mentioned, after we met under the circumstances of what at that time was called living in the heart, I think,
Mhm, mhm.
um, and then became Awakening the Illuminated Heart. Then you also took some classes and sponsored me to come to Romania and teach the work of acutonics and one other part of the sound healing that is called the Fibonacci process. And that is the way I combined my knowledge of sacred geometry into this system called acutonics. And the Fibonacci process is using the esoteric knowledge of the Fibonacci sequence and combining it with the esoteric knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine. There's a system of meridians that I will say are more the esoteric knowledge, and that they're called the 8 extraordinary vessels. So that's what I had been doing for many years. And last year, on almost exactly a year ago, we're doing this interview on January 29 of 2021. And on January 16th of 2020, I received equipment that I had ordered in the previous December and turned it on. And when I turned it on, I knew immediately that there something special had just opened up for me. Because what I felt immediately was that these components, this technology, was opening up a direct connection to what I call the unified field. We now, in the last few minutes, we've talked about the meditation practice, and I've told you about the sound healing work. In both cases, I have been working directly with the places in our body that never forgot the unified field. Remember, I said that we agreed to come into this reality, forget who we were, and forget our connection to God. Even though we did that, there have always been these places within our body that have never left the unified field. And those are the places I've been working with for these last 24 years. So I'm standing there with this new technology turned on, and I'm feeling, wow, there it is. I recognize that. Now, is there a way that I can begin to combine this with the work I'm already doing? And so the answer was yes. So that's what I've been doing for the last year, figuring out ways to use this in the best possible way so that it can help more and more individuals connect to the unified field and balance out the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual issues that keep drawing us into an unbalanced connection in this polarized world. And so that's what's happening now. I'm developing different ways to do that. And so perhaps what we can do is I'll bring up a picture and I can explain what's in the picture as a way of talking about this technology. Does that make sense?
Sure, that's fabulous. I just want to ask you a question before we do this. One of our friends, someone that you also know here in Romania, that actually did take the acutonics class when we did them here. After our global meditation, where you use this device, had a question, and I said, I don't know the answer to that, but I will ask Ron. And I just remember that. And she asked me if we are connected in the unified field, if we are already connected, why do we need a device? Why do we need technology to make that happen for us. And I gave her my understanding, but I would like you to answer because it's coming from the creator.
Yes. Thank you for remembering her question, and thank her for asking it, because it's really important. I have been reluctant for all of these years I'm talking about to work with electronics and other parts of technology. And as I explain this, I'll talk why I'm so comfortable with this. But the question about the unified field, yes, it is within each of us. And there are ways to connect to that. And I believe people are learning more and more to how to remain in that connection as much as possible, which is great. But we're talking now a very, let's say, minor amount of human consciousness who is working at that level. And we're also talking about a very special and interesting time now, where it's becoming more and more important for us to remember these connections. And so, what I feel is happening in the world right now is that there are various technologies that are coming out to assist in that connection. It's not that we should make those technologies the goal. It's that we should use them to assist us in discovering something that exists within us. Then we can let go of the tools. But the tools are showing up for a purpose and a reason right now, and that's to help us make that connection so that people can realize, oh, I am that. And in that realization, then they can establish that connection in a permanent way, and an understanding that it was always there. So, yes, these are just tools. They are not meant to take over and run the world. It's like, right now, Michelle, we have this issue with technology where, because of the way polarity works, we've been inventing technology, and for the most part, I believe it's almost always been brought into the world with a good intention. But over and over again, we realize, oh my God, this is getting out of control. The computer, you know, at first we all thought, oh yeah, this is great. We can type in something and it'll store it, and we can, have a word processor. We can have a little database. It's so good. And now it's taken over our lives. What's happening with this data acquisition now is they know everything we do and everything about us all the time. And it's being used not for our good, but against us. All of a sudden you think about buying a bicycle, and boom, the ad pops up on your screen. It's getting to that point. Well, that's when it gets unbalanced and out of hand. The other issues with technology are things like the amount of radio frequencies and other electronic signals that are in our environment now are overwhelming.
Yes, and Ron, it's true because I do the breath work sessions and work, and we connect to the energetical field of the planet, of ours. We feel and sense the energy we connect with. And I talk a lot to people about energy, about atoms, and how frequency and wave and energy, how it works. And it's actually in the first year of physics, of quantum physics, you learn about this. And everybody learned to some degree in school, but we forgot. It goes somewhere in the background, and we forgot the basics of this. Basics of understanding that just like also the frequency of the tuning forks that you use attached to the pressure point or acupuncture point, it takes the wave, the frequency in your body, and it does some certain things that you'll explain. It's the same with everything, and all these frequencies and radio frequencies and all sorts of frequencies, they interfere also with our body, with our energetical body and our physical body. And most of us don't realize this because, not because we don't know, but because we don't think about it. It's taken out of our view of perception, and we think of many other things, and we forgot to think about these things. And I agree with you, and I told my friend too, and I tell many people, every time they ask me, why should I do this or that and that, or do a Reiki practice, or do breathing, or do, and I said, or sound healing sessions, and I say, because yes, they said to me, these are crutches. And I said, yeah, maybe it's like a crutch. But when you break a leg and you need to relearn to walk, you do need the crutch, and eventually you'll run again. When you are a baby and before you can walk, you can crawl. You crawl and you need one of those little chairs for babies that they can run with the support of that. They're not going to be for their entire life. With that walker, they will be temporarily until they learn how to walk. So in my perspective, just to support everything you said, because it's so true, we do need, in order to reawaken, because we've been awakened before and we forgot, we need those tools to support it. So yes. Thank you.
Let me just take that one point you made and just for a moment amplify it. Just as you said, when we break our leg, then perhaps we don't absolutely need it, but the crutch is very useful to help us in the healing process. When the leg heals, and if we still use the crutch, this has become an imbalance in our life. It's become a problem because we're not letting go of the crutch. That's when it becomes a crutch. Before that, it was just a tool. It was a tool that can assist us. That's a technology that has an application that is useful and could be termed good. When we don't let go, and that becomes something that is throwing us out of balance now, if we're using a crutch, literally, and our leg is healed, the crutch is throwing us out of balance. That's when the true term crutch applies. Before that, it was just a tool. And that is the definition of all our technology. All of it has the ability to be either a tool or a crutch. And the decision of what it is ours. With the technology now, when you see people in a restaurant and they're all on their phones, they're not communicating with each other, well, that phone has become a crutch. It's actually even worse than that. It's part of an addiction. And so, I think that's a way of explaining all of that. So if you'll allow, I'll bring this picture up now and we'll start talking about.
Please, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to this one. Yes. So you see this on your screen now, yes?
Yes.
Good. What are we looking at? We're looking at a massage table. And on one side of the massage table, there's a light. And on the other side, there's a light. And the massage table is where I do my sessions. So let me first describe what these lights are. The blue lights are connected to, you'll see a copper coil coming out of the top, and some people might recognize that as a Tesla coil, Tesla technology. So we're working with technology that was invented by a man named Nikola Tesla, who lived in the 1800s and early 1900s. So it's old technology, but Nikola Tesla wasn't just any inventor. He was a supreme genius. And he invented many, many things, some of which were taken by other people and brought into the world as by people who took credit for their invention. Things like the phone, the radio, AC electricity. If you lived in New York for many years, did you ever go up to Niagara Falls?
Yes.
And did you go across to the Canadian side?
Yes.
Okay, so on the Canadian side, there is a power station that's running underneath the Canadian part of the Niagara Falls. And that power station was built in, I think, 1904. And all of the components were invented by and installed by Nikola Tesla. And this was the first AC power plant in North America with components that he had invented. And that became, it is still the standard to this day. AC power is all over the world, and that's his invention.
Fabulous.
He was an amazing guy. So anyway, these are coils, and I'll tell you why they're so important as we develop this. Above those coils are these orange lights. What they are is a vacuum tube that is filled with noble gas, and it's being activated by the coil. The gas is brought into the next state, and so that's plasma. And the plasma now is creating, especially because of the shape of the bulb, it's creating a field, an electromagnetic field. And there's one at either end of the table, and those two fields are meeting in the middle. Michelle, you know a little bit about sacred geometry, and you know that when two toroidal fields meet in the middle, they form a shape.
Yes.
And that shape is the vesica Piscis. And the vesica Piscis is actually the place of creation. So that's not a bad thing to have on the table that you're working on someone with. Now, normally, throughout the years, I've been working with tuning forks. But the thing about this system called Quantify is, back on this little stand, there's another little device here. And that is a device that allows us to take any frequency, and induce that frequency through the Tesla coil and into the plasma field. So frequency is many things. It's actually everything. And one of those things is sound. So all of the tuning forks, hey, I thought a year ago when I turned this on, why can't I take all of the sounds of the tuning forks and put those sounds into these coils, and therefore into the field, and have that the person laying on the table in that sound field and plasma field? Because the reason tuning forks work on the body is because the body is at least 70% water. Sound moves through water 4 times faster than it moves through air. And the water in the body is a carrier of those sound frequencies, and the information that's contained within those sounds. So any sound, therefore, can be induced into that field. And therefore, I started a journey of recording professionally all of those sounds and putting them on a computer. I have a sound engineer who did that work, assisted in that work, and who also created software. So I could play those sounds through a MIDI keyboard. That's what this is. And now when I do a session, previously I had to activate tuning forks and place them on the acupuncture points on the body. Now I'm activating the sound by playing the keyboard and then using my fingers to activate the acupuncture points on the body. If there were only, let's say, 6 or 7 possible sounds of tuning forks, that might not be necessary or helpful, but there are hundreds of possibilities. And that's just with tuning forks. There are many other frequencies and sounds and instruments that are useful in working with bringing balance back to the energy bodies. And so any and all of those sounds can be recorded and induced into the field through the Tesla coils. Now, the other thing I want to mention that is really important, Tesla was a genius. These coils are different. They emit a different type of frequency than any other technology in the world that I know of today. Any electronic, any radio frequency, all of these things are working at a waveform that's called a sine wave. They're traveling everywhere using that form. Tesla in these coils he invented something that uses a different form of wave. It's called a longitudinal waveform, and that is kind of a pulse. And that pulse moves in a very different way than a sine wave. What that allows is that when these pulsed waveforms or longitudinal waveforms meet, they do not destroy each other. They do not destroy anything. They actually amplify and find a way to move through each other. The issue we have with our electronics and technology today is that all of these sine waves don't do that. They're destroying each other. They are destructive. The Tesla waveform is non-destructive.
Well, Ron, this is fabulous. As you're talking about this, I wrote down some questions, but here you pointed out something, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I remember a little because the way you said that it moves, the frequency moves. I remember that a little movie that was on YouTube, probably still there, a film made of the cell, the original cell of human, as it's meeting the sperm, and when they meet, the sperm it's getting as big as the cell, and then they penetrate each other, and it's just reading the entire information and then creating the embryo starts to form.
Mm-hmm.
So it came to me that you mentioned that it's not destroying each other, but is supplementing and is growing together.
Yes.
So if it does something like this, it's absolutely amazing, because it's like the process of creation. You start to create whatever the intention is, because we are not creating a baby, but we're creating whatever the intention, I guess it is, that we
Yeah,
inform the energy.
that's a good way to see it, Michelle. What you're discussing is information most of us learned in grade school,
Yes.
you know, but did we understand? I mean, really, if I had been a teacher of this information, I would have expressed it or tried to express it in such a way that learning that knowledge would excite those who are learning it, so that you would actually know that this is a miracle. These
Yeah.
are miracles that are happening. You know, when that little sperm, tiny little guy, gets through the wall of the membrane that's surrounding the egg, um, just one of those guys gets through, not dozens, one. And I believe, as you realize when you study sacred geometry, you find out that that one that gets through is the one that she, the egg, select,
Yes.
right? And what happens is that little guy, as soon as he gets through, that little guy has a head and the tail, you know, that's all visible. Well, they, in that film, you may have noticed, when he gets through, all of a sudden that little tail just disappears. It doesn't drop off and, you know, sink somewhere. It literally disappears. And almost in the same instant, that little tiny guy expands to be as large as the egg.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there? Where else does that happen? You know, that's a miracle, for heaven's sakes. How did he do that? And then the two pass through each other and they form that shape that we call the vesica piscis.
Yes. And
Yes,
it's amazing. You could call this like the memory of the energy during this creation process. It's amazing. Like we could go on like this forever. We can make many more of those together. It's fascinating, because that shows that we talk about fractals too, at the macro or micro, everything repeats itself. But what is fascinating about what you just described, this Tesla coils are doing when they meet in the middle of the table, when you have there a patient, it's creating just this. The
yes,
process is repeating the process of creation, the original spark.
yes.
So
So
if
that's,
someone that has an issue to resolve or not, we all have issues. I guess it could. How does it work? It works on the intention. It works on knowing what it needs to be resolved for someone, or how do you establish something there?
well, uh, you know, there are so many different healing modalities. I've been working with the tuning forks and with sound, but there are so many different modalities. And so it's not my place to say one is better than another, or, but all of these systems are essentially intended to help restore balance. And they work in different ways. You work with some technologies like breathing. Um, and so, you know, these are the things that, if you're so inclined, you can be instructed on how to become aware of what should happen in a session to really assist someone. So that's all part of whatever system you decide to work in. And what I've been describing is really just one possibility. It's a very powerful one, but
I'm
it's just
sure it
one
is.
possibility. Now, I feel like this would be useful whether you're a massage therapist, whether you're a chiropractor, you know, whether you're a Reiki practitioner. It doesn't matter. whatever discipline you can name, this can assist and amplify whatever work you're doing.
I
Absolutely.
agree with you. I agree with you because I work also for about 10 years. I work with breathwork techniques, and it's true. It's everything is connecting to the energy, to frequency, to vibration. And once for people, when they understand the importance of the energetical field and the frequencies, everything that's floating and passing around us, and for creating a different environment using something like this technology, I think it can enhance a
Yes.
lot any type of technique that has to do with energy.
Yeah, I agree. So that's where I'm going now, is I'm developing different ways to use this equipment. So um, I'll, I'll show another slide because this is a way that you've experienced many times. Whoops, I think I got the wrong picture somehow. Why did that one come back up? Are you seeing the massage table again?
No,
Oh, what
I,
are you seeing?
I see the crystal on the pillow.
Ah, so we're seeing the right picture. Okay, there it is. Good. Okay, I'll go back to that. So now you see the two plasma tubes much closer together. That's not a massage table between them. There's just a little platform with a sheet with sacred geometry on it. And on top of that is a crystal ball. And this is what we've been using for group meditation. The intention being that within our group meditation, we come to a place where we're open to joining together in the unified field. And in this case, the unified field that's being created by the plasma tubes is coming together in the place where the crystal ball is. So the crystal ball becomes the opening, the tool where we can collectively meet in the unified field. Now, you don't have to be in the same location. We can be meditating anywhere in the world and simply have the intention of meeting at that one point. And so, in essence, the unified field within us is connecting to the unified field there, and that becomes it's almost like having a group Zoom or a group call where you decide to all just meet up inside that crystal. And it's been a really powerful way to experience the connection of the unified field. You've participated in a number of those meditations, and so you perhaps have some feedback of your own, Michelle. Yeah.
Yes, the truth is that when we did the unity breath and we connected to Mother Earth, Father Sky, and that circle, that connection, we did through the crystal with the entire group, and actually it was amazing when we did the meditation on winter solstice on the 21st of December. It was so powerful because we were a large group at that moment. It was feeling the energy because we are focused on the heart. The energy was so powerful for myself and with quite a few people that I talked following that meditation. You actually feel something happening on your heart level, heart chakra, for the entire body, but especially on the heart because our focus was the heart. And for hours following a meditation such as this that we did a couple of times with a few groups, for a few hours, you can actually, for me at least, you can actually sense for my entire body and the way I perceive the energy around me, it's different than prior doing it. It doesn't last. I mean, it doesn't last forever. That's why we suggest that this should be repeated and practiced, but it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. What I also know is that once the connection is made in the way we work, and maybe you want to explain a little bit more about that, the connection remains. What it goes away is our, let's put it how to say, our sensation in our body kind of goes away, but the effect that had on us stays.
Mhm.
So maybe you want to explain, because it was so beautifully explained to you by you in the meditation.
Mm. Well, I don't necessarily remember what the heck I said, but
No, you're so nice. No, no, no. I mean, how this is impacting our connection in the unified field using this.
yes, again, anytime we can understand, first of all, find ourselves in the experience of the unified field, and then be consciously aware that we are in the unified field. When that happens, it becomes like a signature. It becomes like a frequency, a vibration that we can touch again. So each time we do this, it actually makes it easier to access that place at any time with or without the technology. We're opening a door that we can pass through uh, again on our own just by going to the feeling of it. For me, um, there's a sound that happens. You and I both teach about a place in the heart, a physical location known as the tiny space within the heart. And for me, when I'm in that space, there is a sound component.
Mhm.
And that sound component, I can just connect with that sound at any time and go right back in there. And the sound for me is what other people call tinnitus. It's a very, very high pitched sound that's with me 24 hours a day of every day. It's just always there.
Yeah, it's so beautifully expressed. I also do some workshops about emotional healing, and we have different components there. And it's interesting because we call about captive emotions, which is something happened in a moment. The emotion, whatever happened, remains in my field, but I don't have the memory.
Mm.
However, when I experience a sound, a smell, something that connects me to that sensation that I had when that happened, I reconnect immediately, instantly. Most of the time, we experience this when something bad happens to us and we go into all sorts of fears. But
Mhm.
sometimes it happens for good things that we experience and we forgot them to experience. So I feel like you mentioned of the vibration. When this is how I feel when we do these meditations that we did using this device. I didn't have the experience to use it physically, like on your table, which I wish I was there. It put me, for me, I speak, it put me in a place where I connected to that field of pure love, joy,
Mhm.
gratitude. I was so elated. And the same with the sound of the tiny space of the heart, the vibration that we have there, and the sound that equivalent in the sound that we I tell people, you cannot leave this workshop without making that sound. You need to remember that sound, and automatically it does the same thing. It like triggers us and reconnects us to that moment in time when we were aware and conscious of the unified field all the time.
Yes, there's
So
an easy way to explain that, Michelle. And it's as simple as uh, connecting to music, connecting to a song or a piece of music where you experienced an emotion at an earlier time. And all that you need is that hear that music again and you go back to that place. You literally go back to the memory of that experience. And that's exactly what we're discussing here.
exactly.
When you know that place within you, the unified field, and if there is a sound component for you to that, you can simply remember the sound, and you go back to that experience. It's not just a memory of it now, it's the actual movement back to that space. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. So, what are your plans in the near future now that you have all this amazing technology created?
So what I'm doing now is I'm finding ways to allow this to move out into the world. I'm creating different ways of using the technology that will offer different price points, different costs of having the equipment, and so that you can be using it in whatever situation you are. Again, I mentioned it can be used for any modality. Whatever your personal practice is, or if it's something you want to begin working with people as with a healing modality. And so I'm creating different ways of putting the technology together, and so that it can be taken out into the world. You mentioned you couldn't experience it now. Well, I hope to take care of that in the near future, because it will be available at various price points, but the lowest one will be less than $1,000 US to have the equipment and the way of working with sound that is very powerful.
Wow,
And
that's
so,
fabulous. I
just
cannot.
to put that in perspective, to buy just one set of tuning forks, and I have dozens and dozens of sets of tuning forks. To buy one set of tuning forks in the past was anywhere from 500 to 1,500 US dollars. So now we can have those sounds and all of the components necessary. And then once you have that basic system, you can add the sound files of all of the other tuning forks and any other instrument or frequency you want into that system for a very reasonable cost. Meaning, if I wanted to add another set of tuning forks to that, it would be $89 instead of 750 or 1,000.
That's
So
fabulous.
that's
Wow.
how it's going to be much more available for people. And very useful. I'm also working with people to put together what we call protocols, which are systems for working with certain issues or conditions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so we'll have specific frequencies and specific acupuncture points as part of the treatment, and we'll be offering those to people as well. Plus the instruction if you want to go deeper into learning the systems that I'm talking about. So it could be someone just, let's say, a massage therapist using the technology and playing music into the field as they do their massage. How would that be? Now, the music and the intention that you're holding as you play the music are going to have a large effect on the individual you're working on.
That's fabulous. There
Yeah,
are already music on specific frequencies. Like, would that enhance, I guess, the effect of that music if it's just played to listen, and if you
absolutely.
put it in this to amplify?
For instance, many people are working with what are called the solfeggio frequencies.
Yes.
A lot of people are exploring the 432 frequency for middle A rather than 440. There are so many possibilities here. We're just beginning to scratch the surface. And so, yes,
Wow.
all of this is now being developed so we can take it out to the world. In that regard, I'll just mention I've had a website for many years, and if you go there now, it's not there because I took it down. It didn't apply anymore to what I was doing. And so The new website will be up within hopefully the next 4 to 6 weeks, and it will be under two names. One is my name, ronlaplace.com, and the other is SpiritTec, and that is Spirit, Spirit, and then another capital T, EC. And what that represents is the name I'm giving to this system, where we are literally taking spirit and technology and bringing them together in a way that is in the highest good.
Wow, Ron, I'm so excited I like what you do for all of us, and I'm happy for you that you finally came to work and to use all your knowledge that you accumulated, both in meditation, all the work with your spirituality, sacred geometry, and sound, and it looks like you put it in one. You brought it together, and it's really exciting.
Thanks, Michelle. How ironic that it took until I was almost 70 to get there. But that's okay. It's all perfect.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like a little kid right now, just
Wow.
getting started with all of this.
Well, is it? Can it get us younger? This can we have a session for?
Well, you don't need it right now, but it's helping me. I know that. Yeah.
No, it's for all of us. It's like, I realize now, and I'm sure that this device can help us regenerate our cells. And I realize with breathing that if you have multiple breathing sessions, especially when we do a retreat and you breathe every day for 5 days, at the end of the time, everybody looks younger. And it's not that we didn't have any surgery, it's just that breathing through the energy that we allow flowing through the body, it takes the stress of the cells.
Yeah.
So removing stress, it actually make you look better. It removes signs of aging. So I'm sure that this particular device, if it's used in a certain way and with healing, can have the same impact on our physical body.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Ron. But we have one more thing that I think we would like to tell those that are watching us, and we'll make sure we'll bring more awareness to it. We will set up a large meditation using this device, and we'll probably do more, but we plan one that is going to be a large event on the spring equinox on 21st of March.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the 21st this year. I haven't looked that up,
22nd.
but
We need to check.
whenever it is, that's when we'll plan for the meditation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And until then, we'll do others. We plan one. It doesn't matter what size it's going to be on the 7th of February. And we will gather with groups here in Romania and United States, all around the world, wherever Ron is available to do this gatherings and spread the word. The beautiful knowledge that he brought now through this technique. I'm so excited. Ron, I have another question now. And by the way, we will make sure that all this information will be posted and everybody will be made aware when we do the meditations.
So where will it be posted, Michelle? Just mention
We'll
that.
post it, here by the end of the video. I will make a note of the dates.
Okay.
And also on the Facebook page, your page, my page, so people can get in touch and find out the information.
All right.
Also, I'm looking forward to that so much. It's amazing. More people have the experience, the better it is. I have a question. I made a note here when you're presenting the massage table, and you're talking about the effect on the water, on the effect of placing this on both ends.
Yes.
So I was thinking, what if we have a plant?
Yes.
What if we have a different size and we can have a field, a garden?
It doesn't matter. Any life, any life form will be affected by this. This is life-giving technology, not life-taking technology. So, I mean, you also know that a lot will depend on the intention of the person that's using the equipment. However, what I have found with this equipment is that, first of all, I know, because I know the inventor and creator of the equipment, that it was created and built with the intention of it only be used, the only possibility for it to be used is in the highest good of all. If someone else has a different intention, guess what?
It won't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, I thought about it because it came to my mind when you were explaining, and I felt this is what it is. I just wanted you to talk about it, and also about water, since you said that sounds it travels faster through water than air, and also I assume it's changing the way the crystals of water behave through this to this technology.
Yes.
Would this, if somebody would place the water, many people think these days to drink alkaline water, to use water that was filtered by certain devices. I won't go into the name of the devices because it's enhancing the cellular manifestation and regeneration and so on. So as a question, did you explore yet, and you can say something about if we can treat, in quotes, the water, and if that water would do any good for us to consume it, or what do you think?
Well, this is another possibility with the technology, isn't it? Where, let's just say, you understand that you can create essences with water. You can create tinctures with all kinds of water and water with other additional components in it. And each of those has its own signature. It has its own frequency, correct?
Correct.
So, all right, we know that we can induce frequency through the Tesla coils in the plasma field, any frequency. So when you know the signature, you can induce that signature into whatever is in the field. So, you know, when people that are listening to that, go ahead, play with those concepts, because it's infinite, the number of uses and possibilities. We're just beginning with this.
Yes, it's amazing, and it does me think about it because we use flower of life, different symbols from sacred geometry on bottles of water in the house, everywhere. So it was using the symbols. Now using something like this, and it sounds amazing. I'm so excited, and I'm waiting to hear more news very soon from you to let us know how this project develops, and the news about where you're going to take it and when it's going to become available. I have to say that somebody already asked me after one of our meditations if it's available for sale yet, and I said, I don't know, you have to ask Ron. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this information.
Well, I feel that, you know, Ron, this is honestly, this is why I'm doing these things, because some of us have more exposure or throughout the years. And I believe, though, that many of us have our personal experiences. We have interesting ways to help humanity in a smaller way, in a bigger way, but no matter the amount, it's useful for somebody. The information is useful for somebody. And the information has to find its way to come out. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's someone else. And little by little, I think humanity needs to find out about these wonderful things that they could use and they can have access to in order to grow, to transform, because we are in the middle of this big transformational process.
Mhm.
And knowledge is power. And one other thing that Tesla used to say, we will make progress when we start to think about the world as energy. When we think of everything is energy, we can start transforming, liberating us from old patterns of thinking, looking at the new, and having a different ride for our life instead of being locked into a mental prison. And I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to do this tonight. And I'm looking forward to, we have a meditation soon. And what would you like to say as closing to those that are watching this tonight?
What I'd like to say right now is how impressed I am that you could use know and use a Tesla quotation to end all of this. Well done. Yes.
It's one of my favorite quotations because, you see, because I work with energy and I am so, since I work with the breathing techniques, it changed my life because I actually can feel and sense the energy. And this is why I'm so excited about what you're doing, because it's connecting with, it's another way of enhancing the energy and helping people connect with the energy. And actually, what I do, it's more individual, like each person needs to work on its own. And I tell them, without practice, it's nothing. Once is not enough. You need to practice, 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 practice. What you do, it's helping enhance that, bring it to another level. So I think that in the future, who knows, we can do breathing sessions and Tesla coils together. So then we can see what happens. But yeah, it's amazing.
Just expanding the field, that's all. And what the field represents is possibility.
Yes. Yeah.
So well done. We'll keep doing it. Yes.
Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure seeing you again and talking to you. And I'm looking forward to have more of these talks together and see where we'll be next year, 29th of January 2022. Wow.
Right. I'm excited. All right, Michelle. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Thank you.